to roll into another live talk. We're going to have a couple of our instructors go over some deer capture techniques, and you know, why, talk a little bit about those options, why you would use them, and you know, general information on that. If you we're talking about an operation that you use that as part of their deer management program. But first, I'm just gonna, while everybody's getting ready, I'm just going to give a little brief touch on another topic that we cover here at North Texas Buckskin Brigade, if y'all were here. Y'all probably, I hope y'all saw the video that Janelle posted this morning of the sunrise. We touched on it a little bit yesterday with John Meyer's talk on journalism, but one thing we do here at North Texas Buckskin Brigade is one morning during the week we would get y'all up before sunrise. We would all go out to a quiet location and we would all grab our lawn chairs, we would sit out and space out, and we would watch the sun come up, and we would write in a journal that y'all would be provided when you were here. Now, this journaling is, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You know, you sit, you think, you enjoy the scenery, enjoy the sunrise, maybe some cool wildlife wanders up. Anyway, and then you write about it. You write about what you're seeing, what's going on, and we encourage that for you know, as I said before, we try to give a broad experience here at camp. You know, not everybody that comes here is a big-time deer hunter. Not everybody that comes here is going to work in the wildlife field. Not everybody that comes here is going to be a game warden. You know, so we try to expose everybody to as many different facets of wildlife and the outdoors as we can. And outdoor journaling is a part of that. And we try to give everybody the chance to do that and explain a little bit about it. This is actually, I have a zillion of these little journals or notebooks or whatever you want to call them, floating around my office, floating around the house. There's probably a half a dozen under the seat of a tractor somewhere. But they're useful as far as keeping track of information. I mean, I've got notes of what wildlife I saw where, different ranches that I've worked on, you know, what herbicides I sprayed and when I sprayed them and how much it cost, and hunting trips. I mean, you name it. I've got notes on just about everything that I think I could possibly need to remember. And it does come in handy as a reference. You know, you might need to refer back to that someday for whatever reason. But anyway, journaling is one of the other activities that we would usually have y'all participate in while you're here. So come back to us next year and we'll give you that opportunity. So I'm going to turn this over to Barrett and Gary right now, and stage is yours.
All right, thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. My name is Barrett, and I'm going to be your host today for this segment of North Texas Buckskin Brigade Virtual Camp. Today, like Matt said, we're going to be talking about deer capture techniques. So there's a variety of reasons why you may want to put hands on animals. It may be you're a deer breeder, you need to go through and make sure all the animals are healthy. Maybe you've got a sick one out there. Maybe you're in a different situation and you've got a place where maybe you need to transfer some deer, going through Texas Parks and Wildlife, utilizing one of our permits, maybe a triple T as we call it, moving deer from one location to the other. You know, and we'll go in there, try to capture those animals, or private consultants will go in there, capture those animals, put them on a trailer, move them into that new population. We have several permits available that allow you to do that. So like I said, there's a variety of reasons that we may want to put hands on animals. So the first technique that we're going to talk about is going to be the helicopter capture technique. In Texas, it's probably the most common, most efficient way that we do that. You know, as opposed to some of the other methods, it's relatively quick. If you have a crew of several folks, you get a pilot out there with their crew of net gunners and buggers. Depending on how many deer or animals you're trying to catch, they can typically knock that out within a day or two. Like I said, it's very efficient. The pilot will go up, fly those areas, and they can pick out individual deer. So if you're looking for one specific deer, or maybe you're only looking for young bucks or only does or something like that, you're able to essentially sift through the population and find those critters that you're actually looking for, as opposed to something like a net where you just kind of have to wait and see what comes in and hopefully you get the animal you're looking for. So typically what happens with the helicopter capture, like I said, the pilot, and he'll have 2, maybe 3 gunners / muggers. A mugger is the guy who jumps out of the helicopter once you net the animal. He'll jump out, tie the animal up, put a blindfold on them, and package them up. That way they're ready to be moved and handled for whatever they need to do with that critter. But the pilot will get up there, fly around, find the animal, and they'll come in pretty low. They'll be flying, once they spot the animal, they'll be right at tree height, sometimes a little bit lower, within 30 yards of that critter. The gunner uses just a handheld net gun essentially, and we've got a picture up here, I'll show you here in a minute. He'll shoot that out, they'll land, the mugger will jump out, tie up the animal, put the blindfold on, and take him back wherever they need to go with it. And then from there, they may go into a trailer, they may work them up, take blood samples, and then release them right there where they're at. So I've got a short little video for you. Let me back up real quick. This is just a picture of one of our operations here. The little orange bags that are hanging down from the helicopter, that's actually 4 different deer that we've got hanging there. That was an operation we did with Texas Parks and Wildlife. But that just shows you whenever they trap them and capture them out in the field, this is the way that one of the ways that we can transport those animals back safely. So I want you to watch this video here. This is just a demonstration of how the pilot and the gunners and everybody kind of work together. You'll see the guy who shoots the net is actually standing on the ground. Normally he'll be in the helicopter shooting that out, but this is just a demonstration. Anyways, like I said, that's a typical example of what happens out in the field. It's probably not quite that fast. Again, the pilot's going to have to land, give time for the mugger to jump out and tie that animal down. But that's, for practical purposes, that's pretty much how it goes. All right, our next technique that we use that's still commonly used is called a drop net. We use it for deer, turkey, some other critters. Basically, it's just as it sounds. It's a giant net set up on 5 poles, 1 pole at each corner of the rectangle, and then 1 pole in the middle holding it up. Leave it out there for 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes longer, with some bait piles right in the middle there. Whenever you get the deer that you're looking for or enough critters, we have it. The guys who are trapping, they'll go in there the day before when there's consistently seeing animals in there, and they'll actually set explosive charges. They'll set charges at the 4 corners and 1 in the middle, and all that's doing is separating where the rope is holding that net up. So whenever they're ready, they've got critters in there, they hit a button, set off those charges, and the net just drops down. And then by then they'll have a bunch of people there ready to go, and hopefully they can run in and get those animals situated before anything gets hurt. This is, like I said, this is a real common technique. Sometimes you'll see it in a field like that, but most of the time, for deer, you'll see it if you've got more brush around, more trees, typically, big oak trees where they've got big overhanging branches that can put that net way up in the tree, where it's not as obvious for the deer. It's not as obvious as seeing a big circus tent out in the middle of the field here. This particular picture was made for turkey trapping, and in that instance, the turkeys aren't real particular on where they go to feed there. The next, I've got one more picture here. This is just another example of the drop net here. You can see this wire here. That's a explosive line essentially. It runs that current through there and it sets off the charges. And you can see up here the little dark spot on the rope there. That's actual charge itself. And there's 5 of those total. The other capture technique that we're going to demonstrate, the other net, is going to be what we call a rocket net. It's very similar in what it's made out of materials as the drop net, but operates a much different way. So you can see in this photo, we've got the net here laying on the ground. It's all folded up in accordion style. It's going to be about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller than the drop net. And the goal here is, if you can see over here, we put out corn. Again, this one was set up for turkeys and not deer. But what we did is we put the corn out, and whenever we sit there and wait, whenever we get animals consistently coming into the bait pile, what we do is we'll be sitting in a hunting blind or some kind of camouflage further off the field. We've got wires running. These little contraptions here are called rockets. What we do is we have an explosive charge actually in that rocket. And I've got an example for you. This is one of those rockets in the picture. May look a lot bigger in the hand than what it does in the picture, but that's a typical size. If you look at the bottom here, you'll see we've got several holes drilled. So we put that explosive charge in there, and it actually burns relatively slowly and puts out gas, heat, and other stuff that helps it propel itself along. And so whenever you set off that charge, those rockets are going to shoot off at that angle that we've got them set. They'll shoot off and then come back down and hopefully catch the animals that we're trying to get. I've got one more quick demonstration. Whenever we go to set off the explosive charge, you guys that grew up cartoons, Bugs Bunny, you may have the idea of, the coyote has a box with a big plunger, pushes it down, and you see a big blast. Well, technology's improved a little bit. We don't have a big plunger anymore. We have just a little handheld device here. And typically what we'll do is we'll hold the side button. It's for charging. I don't know if you can hear, it's got a real high-pitched whine to it. Whenever the light turns on, which it just turned on there, and we'll hit the fire button. And what that is, we have to charge it. There's a little capacitor in there. It gets a high voltage. That way it's not just a 9-volt battery sending 9 volts through the thing. It's a much higher voltage. That just improves the chance that all the explosive is going to ignite at the same time and everything's going to function properly. So I've got one more picture, a different view of the rocket net here. This is just from the back side. You can see, this net is not going to go very far. It's going to probably end about where this darker green is. It doesn't go real far there. But one of the really cool things that we have for you guys this week, we actually have a rocket net set up. You may have seen us tease a video about it, setting up a little time-lapse video. So hopefully we've got it set up and we've got everything ready, and we're going to see, hopefully we can get a deer over there and try to capture it. So we're going to have a video for that for you guys. And the last capture technique that we have some really exciting stuff. Here is going to be a dart gun. One of our instructors, Gary, has graciously been able to come out, and he's going to be demonstrating a dart gun for us. So we're going to transition on outside now, and so just come on with me and follow me, and we're going to go over there.
Alright guys, as Barrett was talking to you guys, this is a dart gun. The effective range for utilizing a dart gun is anywhere from 10 to 60 yards. The dart gun uses a .22 blank. to fire a dart. This is an example of a dart in which you would use chemicals that we get prescribed to you by an authorized vet in order to immobilize deer for whatever permit that you might have from the state, which is a requirement. You have to have a permit in order to immobilize deer. So from that, you would place the dart into the barrel as so, and then shut the barrel. We're going to actually demonstrate firing a dart for you guys to kind of show you what it all can do. As you can see here, we place the dart in the rear end of the animal to be able to get that drug to mobilize that animal into the medius part of the animal. Usually it's going to be in your rear rump. From that, depending upon what drug you're using, you can expect a time of anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes before that animal will be on the ground without moving, and pretty much in a sleep in which you can turn around and put your hands on the animal to do whatever you need to do. In a breeding operation, you might want to be treating for pneumonia and or cutting off antlers. If you're going to be putting a bunch of bucks into a pen together, that way they don't fight each other and kill each other. Other ways that if you're trying to do a DMP and you're trying to capture a specific buck, you could use a dart gun in order to capture your buck and immobilize him and transfer him into your DMP pen to where he will have the opportunity to breed whatever does that you might have available for him. But that is an example of a dart gun and what all it can do. Did we go over code word?
That's what I was just going to do. Thanks for reminding me, Gary. Today's code word, for those of you that are playing along and participating in our contest, is going to be net gun. The code word is net gun. So again, thanks everybody for watching, and please stay tuned. Our next segment's going to be at 2 o'clock, so keep your eyes peeled and keep your phone close. Thank you.